Dear Olimpia, you have the floor.
I sincerely thank the Center for Geostrategic Studies in Belgrade and especially its director, Dragana Trivkovic, for their commitment to defending the Orthodox faith.
Thank you very much.
This year, Theosis Editrice is focusing on publishing books on the inerrancy of the Fathers and on the problematic features of certain figures. I would like to show you why this is so important today. Augustine is referred to on several occasions by fathers and council, sometimes as a father, sometimes as blessed, but we must ask, for what reason is he mentioned? Which of his teachings are actually received? And above all, is his theological methodology ever adopted as a criterion of Orthodox tradition? No. Even Origen was called a father by some fathers, including Saint Athanasius. It is possible that Augustine became a saint at the end of his life, but he certainly had not yet attained theosis when he wrote the Trinitate or his other well-known works in which serious theological errors can be found. The fathers most probably had not read this text because, as far as we know, no great Eastern father ever cited them as a theological foundation. None of them based his theology on Augustine's theological methodology. When these texts were later circulated in the East, the tradition of the Church placed him more properly among the ecclesiastical writers. Let us consider one example of these errors. The Trinitate, 3rd, 11, 21-22. Augustine states that God cannot appear in his essence, and from this he concludes that all the manifestation granted to the patriarchs took place through a visible creature, subject to the will of the Creator. He fell into an error of the same kind as that for which Barlaam was condemned. Today, certain ecumenist theology tends to present Augustine as a father of the Christian Church, in a general sense, almost on the same level as the great God-bearing fathers of the Orthodox Church, and then use these theological deviations to argue that even the fathers can err in fundamental dogmas. The denial of the inerrancy of the Holy Fathers is today one of the most dangerous instruments of ecumenism. It weakens the dogmatic consciousness of the Orthodox Church and relativizes the authority of the Fathers. The central point is to clarify what the inerrancy of the Fathers really means. It does not concern every personal opinion, every historical detail, or every possible theologumenon. Rather, it concerns the dogmatic truth of the Church, especially Trinitarian and Christological theology. There is not a single authentic father who has attained deification who erred concerning the Trinity, Christology, man's salvation, uncreated grace, or the vision of God. They may have used terminology that had not yet been formally defined. They may later be clarified by subsequent councils, but they do not fall into heresy. Heresy is not a mere inaccuracy. Heresy is blasphemy. It distorts the revealed truth concerning God, Christ, and salvation. The Seventh Ecumenical Council offers us a very clear criterion. When the iconoclast presented writings against the icons attributed to Saint Epiphanius of Cyprus, the Council declared that a Holy Father cannot fall into such an error. Either Epiphanius is not a saint, or the writing is not his. The Council rejected the writing attributed to Epiphanius. Today, the concept of the inerrancy of the Fathers is often misunderstood or forgotten. In many theological academies, it is no longer taught clearly, while the concept of the conscience of the Fathers is frequently misused. The conscience of the Fathers is the ecclesial manifestation of the harmony of tradition, but it's not the source of the inerrancy. The fathers teach the same truth because they participate in the same truth through the same Holy Spirit. In particular, the so-called neo-patristic school of Paris has contributed to spreading a modernist reading of the fathers, in which their authority is reinterpreted. More recent figures, such as Sophronia of Essex, are also introduced as deified witnesses, despite the presence in his teaching of elements foreign to the patristic and canonical tradition. If every dogmatic error can be interpreted as merely a difference of language, then how can we oppose those who wish to restore Origen, Evagrius Ponticus, Nestorius, and the Monophysites to the Church? Where tradition becomes open to modification, ecumenism can enter under the appearance of theological development. Ecumenism seeks to prove that tradition is plural, ambiguous, contradictory, and in need of reinterpretation. But this is not the consciousness of the Orthodox Church. The Church lives by the revealed truth, preserved by the prophets, the apostles, the ecumenical councils, and the Holy Fathers.